I'll never forget the night my life changed, or the moment it almost burned to ash. My name's Emma, and at 36, I'm just a tech analyst from Seattle who never dreamed of being a millionaire. But when I won a $5 million 0 cents lottery jackpot, the world I thought I knew, my family, my safety, my sense of control, crumbled faster than I could have imagined. It started with a single phone call, a voice so cold it sent shivers down my spine. Pay me $500,000 0 cents, or everyone knows you're sitting on millions. That was the first crack in the facade. By the time my mother stood in my living room, flames licking at the edges of what she thought was my lottery check, I realized the real prize wasn't the money. It was the brutal truth about the people I called family. Let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in a tidy Portland suburb, I was the kid who faded into the background. My parents, Richard and Susan, had eyes only for my younger sister Lily, who arrived 6 years after me like a burst of sunlight they couldn't stop chasing. Lily was their golden child, the one whose crayon scribbles were framed like Picasso originals, while my straight-A report cards got a half-hearted, "That's nice, Emma." If Lily wanted ballet lessons, they found the money, even if it meant skipping my math camp fees. I worked weekends at a greasy diner to buy my first graphing calculator, while Lily's whims, art school, yoga retreats, boutique startups, were bankrolled without question. Don't get me wrong, my parents weren't cruel. They kept a roof over my head, food on the table. But their love was a spotlight, and it always shone on Lily. By my mid-30s, I'd carved out a life I was proud of, even if it wasn't glamorous. I worked as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech firm in Seattle, debugging code and untangling data for clients who never knew my name. My one-bedroom condo in Capitol Hill was cozy but cramped, with a view of a brick wall and a monthly budget strained by $75,000, 0 cents in student loans. I wasn't starving, but I counted every penny. $20, 0 cents for groceries here, a skipped coffee there. I'd learned to live lean, a habit born from years of fending for myself. Lily, meanwhile, was on her 5th career pivot, her latest being a bohemian chic fashion startup that was bleeding money faster than a tech stock crash. My parents still sent her checks while I got lectures about self-reliance. That Tuesday started like any other. Rain streaked my office window as I wrapped up a late coding session, my stomach growling for the leftover stir-fry waiting at home. On my way out, I stopped at a Chevron for gas, mentally calculating how much I could spare before payday. The clerk, a guy with a faded Seahawks cap, grinned as I handed over my card. "Want to throw in a lottery ticket? Jackpot's $5 million 0 cents tonight." I laughed, the kind of tired chuckle you give when life feels like a treadmill. "Sure, why not? Lightning's gotta strike sometime." I tossed in $2 0 cents, grabbed the ticket, and stuffed it into my wallet without a second thought. It was a whim, a flicker of what if, in a life built on certainties. That night, I sprawled on my thrift store couch, scrolling Twitter while the local news droned in the background. The lottery numbers flashed on screen, a routine I usually ignored. But something, call it fate, call it dumb luck, made me fish out that ticket. I scribbled the numbers on a Post-it, my heart picking up speed as the first matched. Then the second. By the third, I was bolt upright, my phone forgotten. 4th, 5th. When the 6th number hit, my breath caught like I'd been punched. I stared at the ticket, then the TV, then back again, convinced I'd misread something. $5 million, 0 cents. My hands shook as I dialed Ava, my best friend since college, the only person I trusted not to laugh me off as delusional. "Get over here, now," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not joking, Ava. This is big." 20 minutes later, she burst through my door, her rain-soaked hoodie dripping on my rug. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" I thrust the ticket at her, wordless, my heart hammering. She grabbed her phone, pulled up the lottery site, and compared the numbers. Her eyes widened, her mouth forming a silent, "Oh." "Holy shit, Emma," she whispered. "This is real. You just won $5 million, 0 cents. We sat there, stunned, the weight of it sinking in. I took a photo of the ticket and hid it inside my dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby, the safest spot in my tiny condo. Ava stayed until 3 a.m., the two of us alternating between giddy laughter and paranoid whispers about what came next. "You can pay off your loans," she said, eyes sparkling. "Buy a house, travel the world, start a charity, whatever you want." But beneath the excitement, a knot of dread formed in my gut. I hadn't told my family yet, and I knew deep down that $5 million, 0 cents, wouldn't just change my life. It would test everything I thought I knew about the people closest to me. The next morning, I called in sick, my hands still trembling as I dialed the Washington State Lottery Commission. They instructed me to come to their Olympia office to verify the ticket. Ava drove, sensing I was too jittery to navigate the I-5 myself. At the office, a stern woman in a blazer confirmed the win, her voice clinical as she outlined the process. "You can choose a lump sum, about $3,200,000, 0 cents after taxes, or an annuity over 20 years. Funds will transfer in 2 weeks." She handed me a folder of paperwork and a comically oversized check for photos, warning me to keep the win quiet. Winners get swamped. Scammers, relatives, you name it. Be careful who you tell. As I posed for the ceremonial photo, the giant check propped awkwardly in my arms, a chill ran through me. Not from the win, but from a sudden, unexplainable feeling that I was being watched. On the drive back, I noticed a black SUV tailing us, too close for comfort. "Ava, you see that car?" I asked, my voice tight. She glanced in the rearview mirror, her jaw tightening. "Yeah, been behind us since Olympia." We took a few random turns and the SUV eventually peeled off, but my unease lingered. Was it paranoia, or had someone already caught wind of my win? That night, my phone rang from an unknown number. I ignored it, but a voicemail popped up seconds later. The voice was low, distorted, like something out of a bad thriller. "Congratulations on your win, Emma. I know all about it. Wire $500,000, 0 cents to the account I'll send, or I leak your name to every scammer in the Pacific Northwest." My stomach dropped. I played the message for Ava, who cursed under her breath. "How the hell did they know already?" she asked. I had no answer. The lottery office swore they kept things confidential, but leaks happen. Maybe a clerk, maybe a hacked database. I blocked the number, but sleep didn't come that night. The money wasn't even mine yet, and already it felt like a target on my back. I decided to tell my family at Thanksgiving a week later, at my parents' sprawling Portland estate. It was a tradition I dreaded. 4 hours of forced smiles and Lily stealing the spotlight with her latest visionary project. But this time, I wanted them to know. Part of me hoped they'd be proud, that for once, I'd be the one they saw. Another part, the cynical part, braced for what I knew was coming. I arrived early, helping my mother chop carrots in her pristine kitchen, the air thick with her signature lavender perfume. "You're quiet today," she said, eyeing me over her glasses. "Work stressing you out again?" "Not exactly," I replied, my stomach twisting. "I've got some news, but I'll wait till dinner." She raised an eyebrow but didn't press. My father joined us, grumbling about the Seahawks' losing streak, while I rehearsed my words in my head. When Lily swept in, 20 minutes late as usual, her boho chic scarf trailing behind her, the room lit up like it always did. "Sorry, traffic was a nightmare," she said, kissing my mother's cheek. I swallowed the familiar pang of invisibility. At the dinner table, surrounded by crystal wine glasses and a turkey that could have fed a small army, I took a deep breath. "I have something to tell you," I said, my voice louder than I'd planned. All eyes turned to me, a rare occurrence. Last week, I bought a lottery ticket, and I won $5 million, 0 cents. The silence was deafening, forks frozen mid-air. Then my mother gasped, her hand flying to her chest. "Emma, are you serious?" My father's face broke into a rare grin. "That's incredible, kiddo." For one glorious moment, I thought they were happy for me. But then Lily's eyes narrowed, a smile curling her lips that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh my God, Em. That's amazing. We're gonna have so much fun with this." The word hit like a slap. Before I could respond, my father leaned forward, his tone shifting to businesslike. "Perfect timing, actually. Lily, tell your sister about your situation." Lily's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly. "It's not a big deal, really. My fashion startup's just in a rough patch. About $100,000, 0 cents in debt, credit cards, inventory loans, nothing major." "Nothing major?" I nearly choked on my wine. Her bohemian chic brand was a money pit, selling $200 0-cent scarves nobody bought. My mother jumped in, her voice dripping with urgency. "Emma, this is a godsend. You can clear Lily's debts, give her business the boost it needs." I stared at them, my mashed potatoes turning to lead in my stomach. "I haven't even gotten the money yet," I said carefully. "There's a process. Taxes, financial planning, and I have my own debts. $75,000 0 cents in student loans, for starters." My father scoffed. "Student loans? You're a millionaire now, Emma. Don't be ridiculous." Lily leaned forward, her voice sugary. "If I had won, I'd share with you in a heartbeat. Family helps family, right?" The hypocrisy burned. 3 years ago, Lily inherited $15,000 0 cents from our grandmother and blew it on a Maldives trip, not even offering me a coffee. I set my fork down, my voice steady despite the anger rising in my chest. "I've worked for everything I have. Paid my own way through college, my own rent, my own loans. For once, this is about me." My mother's face hardened, that disappointed look I knew too well. "Don't be selfish, Emma. Lily's business has real potential. This could be her big break." "And what about my big break?" I snapped, years of resentment spilling out. "Why is it always about Lily? Her art school, her startups, her dreams, while I'm scraping by." The table went silent again, but this time it was tense, electric. Lily's eyes welled up, performative as ever. "I can't believe you're being like this." My father slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. You're sitting on millions, and your sister's drowning. You will help her." I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood. "I haven't decided anything yet, and I won't be bullied into it." I grabbed my coat and left, their voices trailing after me, my mother's pleas, Lily's sobs, my father's threats. As I drove back to Seattle, rain blurring my windshield, I fought back tears. I'd wanted them to see me, just once. Instead, they saw dollar signs. The next morning, my phone lit up with a text from Lily. It wasn't an apology. "Hey, sis, I know you're processing, but I made a spreadsheet. $200,000, 0 cents would clear my debts and fund a killer marketing campaign. Love you." I stared at the screen, her red heart emoji mocking me. Then came the calls. My mother, my father, relentless. I silenced them, but the pressure was suffocating. At work, I kept my head down, but during my lunch break, my phone buzzed with an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, "We know about your win." My heart stopped. The message was short, $500,000, 0 cents, or your name goes public, instructions to follow. Attached was a photo of me holding the ceremonial check, taken at the lottery office. I called Ava, my voice shaking as I forwarded her the email. "Someone's watching me," I said. "First the SUV, now this?" She was at my condo in 15 minutes, her face pale as she read the message. "This is bad, Em. We need to go to the police." But what could I say? I had no proof, just a creepy voicemail and an email. Instead, I contacted Ms. Carter, a financial advisor recommended by the lottery office. She was calm, professional, but her words chilled me. "This happens more than you'd think. Secure your accounts, change your passwords, and don't engage with these people." That night, as I double-checked my locks, I heard a thud outside my condo. My heart raced as I peeked through the blinds. Nothing, just shadows and rain. But when I stepped outside the next morning, my car's tires were slashed, a note tucked under the wiper, "Share or else." I stood there, rain soaking my hoodie, realizing this wasn't just about my family anymore. The money had painted a target on my back, and I didn't know who was aiming. By the time I got to work, my phone was blowing up again. Lily had posted a cryptic Instagram story, "When family turns their back on you over money, betrayed." It had 500 likes and comments from strangers calling me greedy, heartless. My win was out there now, public, raw. Reporters started calling, digging for a local millionaire story. My boss pulled me aside asking if I was okay after rumors about my finances. The walls were closing in, and I hadn't even seen a dime of the money yet. I met Miss Carter the next day, her office a sleek high-rise with a view of Puget Sound. She laid out a plan: pay off my loans, set up an emergency fund, invest for long-term growth. "And your family?" she asked, her pen pausing. I told her about Thanksgiving, Lily's demands, the slashed tires. Her frown deepened. "Set boundaries now, or they'll bleed you dry. Document everything." I left with a plan, but no peace. My family wasn't giving up, and neither was the shadowy figure behind the threats. That evening, I got a group text from my mother. "We're meeting tomorrow at 7 to discuss the family's financial future, Emma. Bring your lottery paperwork." The audacity floored me. "They hadn't asked. They decided." I typed back, "My money, my choice. I won't be there." My father's reply was instant. "You're tearing this family apart. Call us now." I didn't. Instead, I rented a safe deposit box and stashed my lottery documents. The ceremonial check tucked away like a trophy I couldn't trust anyone to see. The next night, I came home to find my front door ajar. My pulse spiked as I pushed it open. Phone clutched to call 911. Voices echoed from my living room. My parents. I stormed in, adrenaline surging, and froze. My mother stood by the fireplace, flames curling around the oversized lottery check. My father's face was stone cold. "If you won't share, you won't get a penny," he said. The check blackened, ash fluttering like my dreams of family. Susan's eyes gleamed with triumph. "Now we can talk about what's fair." I should have screamed, cried, called the cops. Instead, I laughed, a wild, uncontrollable sound that made them flinch. "You think that's the real check?" I said, wiping tears from my eyes. "That's a prop, a souvenir. The money's already being wired to my account." Their faces collapsed, confusion replacing smugness. I pulled out my phone, showing them the email from the Lottery Commission confirming the transfer. "You broke into my home for nothing," I said, my voice steady despite the betrayal burning in my chest. "How did you even get in?" I demanded. My father shrugged, unapologetic. "You gave us a key last year when your pipes burst. Never asked for it back." The violation hit harder than the fire. My mother stammered. "We were just trying to..." "To what? Destroy my future?" I cut her off. Lily walked in then, a takeout bag in hand, her face paling as she saw the scene. "I didn't know they'd do this," she said too quickly. I didn't believe her. "All of you, out, now, or I call the police." They left, my mother's pleas trailing behind them, but I was done listening. I called a locksmith that night, my hands shaking as I packed a bag to stay at Ava's. The threats, the break-in, the fire, it was too much. As I drove away, my phone buzzed with a new text from an unknown number. "You can't hide forever. $500,000, 0 cents. Tick-tock." I gripped the steering wheel, the Seattle skyline blurring through my tears. The money was supposed to be my freedom, but it felt like a cage. And the worst part? I didn't know who was coming for me next. My family, a stranger, or both. I thought the worst was over when I watched my parents and Lily slink out of my condo, the ashes of their failed stunt smoldering in my fireplace. I was wrong. The $5 million 0 cents lottery win that was supposed to be my ticket to freedom had turned my life into a high-stakes game I didn't know how to play. My name's Emma, and if you think a burned prop check was the peak of my family's betrayal, buckle up. The real storm was just beginning, and it came with slashed tires, a brick through my window, and a shadowy figure who seemed to know my every move. By the time I found my footing, I'd learned that the greatest prize wasn't the money. It was the strength to rewrite my own story. The morning after the fireplace incident, I woke up on Ava's couch, my neck stiff from a sleepless night, haunted by that distorted voicemail. $500,000, 0 cents. Tick-tock. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Missed calls from my parents, texts from Lily, and a new email from an unknown sender with a single line, "You can't outrun us." Attached was a grainy photo of me leaving my condo the previous night, my face pale under the streetlights. My heart pounded as I showed Ava. "This is getting out of hand," she said, her voice tight. "You need to go to the police, Em." But what could I say? My family had a key, and the threats were anonymous. I felt like a pawn in a game where the rules kept changing. I called a locksmith before dawn, watching through Ava's window as the Seattle skyline turned gray with rain. By noon, my condo's locks were changed, and I'd ordered a high-tech security system. Cameras, motion sensors, the works. But as I drove back to my place to pack a bag, I froze at the sight of my car in the parking lot. All 4 tires were slashed, the rubber sagging like deflated dreams. Tucked under the wiper was a note, scrawled in jagged marker, "Share or else." My hands shook as I snapped a photo and called Ava. "I'm not safe here," I said, my voice barely steady. She was there in 20 minutes, her pickup truck idling as we loaded my essentials, clothes, laptop, the Great Gatsby with the ticket still tucked inside. I didn't go back to work that day. Instead, I met with Ms. Carter, my financial advisor, in her sleek downtown office. Her calm demeanor was a lifeline as I recounted the slashed tires and the latest threat. "This is why I tell clients to lock down their lives," she said, scribbling notes. "Your money's safe, the transfer's processing, but you need to protect yourself. Have you considered moving?" The idea hit hard. My condo was my sanctuary, small as it was, but with my family's betrayal and a stalker circling, it felt like a trap. "I'll start looking," I said, though the thought of uprooting my life made my chest ache. That afternoon, my phone lit up with a notification from Twitter. Lily had posted again, this time a full-on rant. "When your own sister hoards millions while you're drowning in debt, family means nothing to some people. Ungrateful." The post had gone viral, with thousands of likes and comments from strangers piling on. "What a selfish jerk! Who needs enemies with a sister like that?" My stomach churned as I scrolled, each word a knife. Reporters started calling, their voicemails piling up. "Emma, we're doing a story on your lottery win. Care to comment on your sister's accusations?" I deleted them, my hands trembling. Then my boss texted, "Getting weird calls about you. Everything okay?" Anonymous tipsters had contacted my workplace, accusing me of fraud, claiming I'd stolen the ticket. My professional reputation, built over a decade of grinding, was unraveling. I drove to a coffee shop to clear my head, but the barista's stare told me she'd seen Lily's post. "You're that lottery girl, right?" she asked, her tone half curious, half accusing. I mumbled a denial and left, my latte untouched. Back at Ava's, I checked my email and found a new message from the Lottery Commission. The funds would hit my account in 10 days. Relief washed over me. But it was short-lived. Another email arrived, this one from a local tabloid, "Seattle millionaire snubs struggling sister." The article twisted everything, painting me as a cold-hearted techie hoarding wealth while Lily fought to save her dream. A blurry photo of me at the lottery office accompanied the story, my face plastered for the world to judge. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in Ava's apartment made me jump, visions of that black SUV flashing in my mind. I called Miss Harper, the lawyer recommended by Ms. Carter, and scheduled an urgent meeting. Her office was a stark contrast to the chaos of my life. Polished wood, walls lined with law books. "Your family's actions constitute harassment, possibly breaking and entering," she said, her pen tapping the desk. "The tire slashing could be linked, but we need evidence. Start documenting everything. Texts, voicemails, that note." She suggested a restraining order, but warned it might escalate things with my parents. "And the anonymous threats?" I asked, showing her the photo of me leaving my condo. Her frown deepened. "This is serious. You might be dealing with more than just family greed." The next morning, my parents sent a group text. "Family meeting, 7 p.m. tomorrow at our house. Bring your lottery paperwork, Emma. We need to plan our future." The assumption that my money was theirs to plan made my blood boil. I replied, "My finances are my own. I'm not coming." My father's response was immediate, a voicemail dripping with venom. "You're tearing this family apart, Emma. We raised you better than this. Your mother's heartbroken, and Lily's creditors are circling. You will help, or we'll sue for emotional distress." A lawsuit? The audacity was staggering, but it wasn't a bluff. My father, a retired CPA, knew how to weaponize the system. I forwarded the voicemail to Ms. Harper, who sighed. "It's a weak case, but they could drag you through court to pressure you. Keep your distance." I tried, but the pressure was relentless. Lily texted again, a long, tearful plea. "I'm drowning, Em. $200,000 0 cents would save my business. I'd pay you back, I swear. Don't let Mom and Dad's mistake ruin us." I didn't respond. Her words felt rehearsed, another performance in a lifetime of playing the victim, but the guilt gnawed at me. Years of being the responsible sister, always cleaning up messes, made it hard to stay cold. That evening, I returned to my condo to grab more clothes, my new security system blinking reassuringly, but as I unlocked the door, a deafening crash shattered the silence. Glass sprayed across my living room. Someone had thrown a brick through my window. I froze, heart pounding, as I read the note tied to it. $1 million 0 cents, or you're next. My knees buckled. This wasn't my family's doing. Or was it? I called 911, my voice shaking as I described the scene. The police arrived, took photos, and bagged the note, but their questions felt like accusations. Any enemies? Exes? Debts? I didn't mention the lottery. It felt too risky, but I showed them the earlier threats. "We'll look into it," the officer said, but his tone suggested they wouldn't find much. I stayed at Ava's again, my condo now a crime scene. The next day I met with Miss Carter to finalize my financial plan. "Your money's secure," she assured me. "The transfer's locked behind multiple verifications. But you need to move, somewhere with real security." I nodded, numb. That afternoon, I signed a lease for a high-security apartment in downtown Seattle, a sleek high-rise with a 24-hour doorman and keycard elevators. I didn't tell anyone the address, not even Ava at first. As movers packed my belongings, my phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Jake. "Heard you're loaded now. Why so stingy?" Attached was a screenshot of my new building's lobby, posted online with the caption, "Millionaire cousin's new hideout." Jake had always been a gossip, but this? He'd leaked my location to the world. The internet exploded. Twitter threads dissected my greed. Reddit forums speculated about my motives, and strangers showed up at my new building, demanding handouts. I turned off my phone, but the damage was done. At work, my boss called me into her office. "We've had more calls. Someone's saying you faked your employment records to scam the lottery." I know it's nonsense, but it's disrupting the team. I promised to handle it, but my hands shook as I left. My job, my sanctuary for a decade, was slipping away. That night, driving to Ava's, I noticed headlights in my rearview mirror, too close, too steady. I sped up, and they matched my pace. On a quiet stretch of road, the car, a black sedan, swerved, nearly forcing me into a ditch. My heart raced as I floored it, weaving through traffic until I lost them near downtown. I pulled into a parking garage, hyperventilating, and called Ava. "Someone tried to run me off the road," I gasped. She was silent for a moment. "Em, this isn't just about your family anymore. You need protection." The next day, I hired a private security consultant, a grizzled ex-cop named Dan who installed additional cameras and gave me a panic button for my keychain. "You've got a stalker," he said bluntly. "Could be a pro, could be an amateur with a grudge. Either way, stay vigilant." His words echoed as I met with Ms. Harper again. She filed for a temporary restraining order against my parents and Lily, citing the break-in and harassment. "This might not stop the anonymous threats," she warned, "but it'll keep your family at a distance." The lottery funds hit my account 2 days later, $3,200,000, 0 cents, a number that should have felt like freedom but instead felt like a weight. I sat in my new apartment, the city skyline glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows, and logged into my bank account. With a few clicks, I paid off my $75,000, 0 cent student loans, the balance dropping to zero. Tears streamed down my face, not just relief, but a release of years of struggle. I'd done it. I was free. But the victory was bittersweet, overshadowed by the chaos closing in. I called Aunt Clara, my mother's sister, the only family member who'd stayed neutral through years of favoritism. Over coffee at a quiet Fremont cafe, I poured out everything. The break-in, the brick, the car chase. Her face paled. "They burned your check?" she asked, horrified. "And broke into your home? Emma, that's not just wrong, it's criminal." I nodded, showing her the threatening note from the brick. "And this? I don't know if it's them or someone else." Clara shook her head. "Your mother's been calling everyone, saying you've lost your way. But this? I had no idea it was this bad." She leaned forward, her voice low. "There's something else. Lily's been talking to some shady guy. Met him at a bar, I think. She mentioned fixing her problems with your money. I don't know details, but it didn't sound good." My stomach twisted. Was Lily behind the threats? The SUV, the brick, the car chase? I thanked Clara and left, my mind racing. Was my own sister orchestrating this nightmare? Or was she just desperate enough to align with someone dangerous? I threw myself into action to drown out the fear. With Ms. Carter's guidance, I bought a 3-bedroom townhouse in a gated Bellevue community. Its security features, cameras, guards, a coded gate, promising safety. I didn't tell anyone the address, not even Clara. I gave notice at work, citing an unexpected inheritance to avoid questions. My boss was supportive but curious, and I promised to train my replacement over 6 weeks. The normalcy of work felt like a lifeline, but even that was tainted when a coworker whispered, "Heard you're a millionaire, gonna buy us all lunch?" The rumor mill was relentless. To reclaim some control, I started a nonprofit, pouring $100,000, 0 cents, into a financial literacy program for low-income youth. I partnered with Seattle community colleges, designing workshops on budgeting and credit skills. I'd learned the hard way. The first session, with 50 teens listening intently, brought a spark of purpose I hadn't felt in months, but even that joy was interrupted. Driving home one night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Nice charity, shame if it burned down." Attached was a photo of the community college's entrance. I forwarded it to Dan, who upped my security detail, but the fear was constant now. My family didn't stop. My father emailed, his tone softer but still manipulative. "We overreacted, Emma. Let's talk. Family's more important than money." My mother's voicemails oscillated between tears and accusations. "You're punishing Lily for our mistake. How can you be so cruel?" Lily's texts were the worst, a mix of guilt and desperation. "I'm losing everything, Em. $200,000, 0 cents would fix it. I'd never ask again." I didn't respond, but each message chipped away at my resolve. Years of being the good sister, the one who fixed things, made it hard to stay silent. Then came the bombshell. Clara called, her voice urgent. "Lily's business folded. She's got $150,000, 0 cents, in debts, and your parents refinanced their house to bail her out." I was stunned. My parents were in their late 60s, planning to retire. A second mortgage was a death sentence for their savings. "They think you'll cave eventually," Clara said. "They're telling everyone you're the problem." The betrayal stung, but it also clarified things. My family wasn't just entitled. They were willing to ruin themselves to prove I was wrong. I leaned on Ava, who became my rock. Over wine at her apartment, she cut through my guilt. "They're not your responsibility, Em. You didn't make Lily's choices, and you didn't force your parents to mortgage their future." She raised her glass. "To boundaries." I clinked mine against hers, a small smile breaking through. "To surviving," I added, but survival felt fragile when I got home and found another note slipped under my door. "Last chance, $1 million, 0 cents, or you lose more than money." I called Dan, who swept the building but found nothing. "They're escalating," he said. "You need to disappear for a while." I took his advice, moving into my townhouse under cover of night. The gated community felt like a fortress, but I still jumped at shadows. Days later, my nonprofit's first workshop went viral for all the wrong reasons. A blog post, anonymous of course, accused me of laundering lottery money through the charity. The community college pulled back, citing concerns. I fought to save the program, but the damage was done. My dream of giving back was crumbling, and I didn't know who was behind it. My family, the stalker, or both. 6 months after the win, I got an email from Lily. It wasn't her usual plea. "I've been thinking about everything," she wrote. "I was wrong to expect your money to fix my mess. I was desperate, and I let Mom and Dad's pressure cloud my judgment. I'm sorry for the posts, for showing up at your place, for everything. I'm working now managing a retail store. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. I miss you, Em." I read it a dozen times, searching for the catch. Was this genuine or another play? Clara confirmed Lily had a job at a downtown boutique, even paying down some debts. "She's trying," Clara said, "but be careful." I agreed to meet Lily for coffee at a neutral spot, a quiet Belltown cafe with big windows and too many exits for me to feel trapped. She looked different, less polished, more grounded. "You look good," she said, her smile tentative. "Happy?" I nodded, cautious. "Getting there. You?" She shrugged. "Managing a store's not my dream, but it's stable. I'm learning." We danced around the past at first, sticking to small talk. Then she leaned forward, her voice soft. "I'm sorry, Em. Not just for the check thing. I didn't know they'd do that, but for everything." "I leaned on Mom and Dad's favoritism, and it hurt you. I see that now." Her words hit hard, stirring a mix of hope and skepticism. "Why now?" I asked. She sighed. "When the business crashed, I had to face myself. No one bailed me out this time, except Mom and Dad. And that's killing them. I'm trying to fix my own mess." I studied her, searching for the old Lily, the one who'd charm her way out of consequences. But her eyes held something new. Regret, maybe even growth. "I need time," I said finally, "but thank you." We hugged, awkward but real, and agreed to meet again in a few weeks. That night, in my new townhouse, I stood on the balcony, the Seattle skyline sparkling below. The threats had slowed. Dan's team traced the emails to a burner account, likely a hired thug who'd moved on. My nonprofit was back on track, with new partners and stricter security. My parents' calls had tapered off, their apologies still laced with excuses. I wasn't ready to face them, but Lily's effort gave me a sliver of hope. The money had changed my life. Loans paid, a home I loved, a purpose through my charity. But the real victory was deeper. I'd faced betrayal, fear, and my own doubts, and I'd come out stronger. As I sipped my wine, Ava's words echoed, "To boundaries." I raised my glass to the stars, a silent toast to the woman I'd become. The threats, the break-ins, the lies, they'd tried to break me, but they'd only shown me my own strength. I wasn't just a millionaire. I was Emma, and for the first time, that was enough.